light rail. It represents a progressive approach to transportation in the Puget Sound region. Advocates see it as the most reliable transit alternative around and something that protects the environment while helping manage density through targeted growth. But the public has long been divided over whether light rail can live up to its billing. Voters have a history of rejecting light rail initiatives during their first go-around and then accepting pared-down versions in the next election. Few people have more of a stake in the matter than Bellevue development mogul Kemper Freeman, who owns around 8% of the real estate in downtown Bellevue, including Bellevue Square, Lincoln Square, and Bellevue Place. Yet few people have been so firm in their stance against light rail.
I've never seen special interests. I mean, the people who design these programs, build them, the government agencies that will run them have completely dominated and sabotaged reality on what they can actually do or what is happening anywhere else in the United States.
Freeman has commissioned transportation experts to look at the light rail issue, and they're telling him it just won't work in the Puget Sound area. They say it only works in metropolitan cities with extremely high densities, places like New York City, Singapore, and Hong Kong, which compared to Seattle, look like King Kong. But Sound Transit, the agency in charge of implementing light rail, isn't buying that argument.
Folks have been to other cities and they've seen rail systems working, and it's not just in New York that rail works. Yes, rail works best where there are a lot of folks, but it still works better than the other alternatives available in cities with the densities of Seattle or Portland or many other places that have recently built rail. And it causes development to happen that makes it work better and better each year, that brings more people.
Beyond the density issue, Freeman argues that even with light rail, the automobile isn't likely to disappear anytime soon.
If you look at all the experts' best guess, including Sound Transit, including Puget Sound Regional Council, or DOT or anybody else, Metropolitan Seattle will be 30, 40 years from now, will still be 95% dependent on the car. We're spending billions of dollars on ideas that produce very little result. And that isn't a whimsical statement coming from me. That is based on solid engineering evidence from the best transportations that I can hire.
Have you ever thought about putting those efforts into a light rail plan that would be that would work, that will actually bring customers and will deliver on the promises that Sound Transit has made?
Yeah, I have never started from a position of trying to fight transit or light rail. I've started with a position of how can we move people in and out of here. I don't care how they come. If they could come in hot air balloons, if that worked, I would be for it.
Kemper Freeman has his own vision of what mass transit should look like, and it starts with a concept every bit as divisive as light rail. He's calling for more roads, specifically a 6% increase in lane miles that he believes is long overdue and would reduce congestion by 36%. The Freeman plan also calls for free transit ridership, which he claims would increase usage while still costing less than building and operating light rail. Drastic increases in van pools and bike lanes are also needed according to his plan. Finally, Freeman's plan replaces light rail with a bus rapid transit system, which uses dedicated lanes to bypass congestion. He says this could be implemented in under 3 years at a fraction of the cost of light rail. Sound Transit says buses aren't the only answer.
Well, bus rapid transit has its place in a comprehensive transportation system. Bus rapid transit also has its limitations. In order for it to even approach the effectiveness of light rail, you have to acquire dedicated right-of-way. And once that's done, you've invested most of the costs that you put into constructing a light rail system. In addition, bus rapid transit bus vehicles can only carry so many passengers. A light rail vehicle can carry hundreds and hundreds of commuters with one driver. And so you save on the costs of hiring folks to operate the system. You also save on fuel. Running these trains on electricity is less expensive than having many more diesel-powered buses.
Still, Kemper insists buses will attract more riders with their ability to reach every nook and cranny of the region. Light rail, on the other hand, is limited in where it can go.
It is true that not everyone is going to have a light rail line running down the street in front of their house, nor are they going to have a bus line. But The light rail system is the spine of a coherent system. And within a few years, something on the order of 70% of the residences and 85% of the jobs will be within easy reach of that light rail line.
Another beef Freeman has with Sound Transit is cost overruns. He's leveled much criticism at the agency for going over budget on CenturyLink, the portion of light rail that's, at least for the most part, already in place. All told, Sound Transit expects to exceed its original cost estimates for light rail from SeaTac to the University District by $3 billion. The agency is also far behind schedule on construction for those projects. The original timeline expired in 2006, but the segment won't be done until 2016.
Why was Sound Transit so far off on its initial estimates?
Well, I think the founders of Sound Transit back in the 1990s were visionary, and they were starting something brand new, but they were also optimistic about how fast and how inexpensively some of these things could be accomplished. They brought a new management, and they set new budget, new timelines, and really remade this agency, which was not very many years old.
But that isn't quite cutting it for Freeman.
They're so lucky that they have an understanding public that's willing to just look the other way when they're off by billions of dollars, and they can laugh about their rookie mistakes, but they're all at our expense, not theirs. They haven't paid for it, we have.
Do you believe they'll get it right with Eastlink this time? Or?
There's no sign that they will.
One positive sign for Sound Transit is that construction costs aren't rising as severely as they once were. Recent bids for University Link came in below the agency's estimates. As for whether there's any debating left to be done over the virtues of light rail, Sound Transit doesn't think so. Agency spokesman Bruce Gray says the voters have pretty much spoken regarding light rail critics. But while that may be true, Freeman isn't finished. He joined the East Side Transportation Association in filing for a writ of prohibition to stop light rail from traveling along Interstate 90. His request alleges that using the expressway for light rail would violate the 18th Amendment of the state's constitution, which says roads built with gas tax money can only be used for road traffic. The state Supreme Court will decide in early November whether to hear the case. For Reporter Newspapers, I'm Josh Hicks.